Tinkerwell is a really neat tool for debugging PHP code that has been really popular with the Laravel crowd. But what about us Magento developers? Doesn't it feel like we're really never part of the cool club or get access to these really neat features and tools created by the Laravel community? Well, I have great news. Tinkerwell is one of those things that we can use with Magento, and it takes just a few minutes to get set up, so let's get right to it. After you install Tinkerwell, you'll see a screen that looks something like this. There's this Use Default Laravel App button. I'm not sure what this button is or what it does. Maybe it's just a button that makes Laravel developers feel important. But we are Magento devs, so this button really won't do anything for us anyways, so let's just ignore it. The next icon is for setting up the working directory. Let's go ahead and click it. We'll want to set this to the location of our Magento installation. My Magento install is in the sites directory within a subdirectory named Magento. But we don't want to set this as the working directory, as it is just the main project directory that contains Docker configuration files, project files, and so on. I'm going to step into the source directory. And we can tell right away that this is a standard Magento installation. So let's click Open to set this as the working directory. Since I use Docker Magento for my local development environment, I'll also need to configure Docker to get Tinkerwell to play well with it. Before I move on, Docker Magento is a full-blown Magento 2 development environment that I've been working with and maintaining for over 7 years now. It is fully featured, completely open source, and even has an extensive free documentation course over at Academy that will help you set up everything. Be sure to check it out if you don't currently have a rock-solid dev environment set up for Magento. To configure a Docker project in Tinkerwell, let's click this Configure Docker button. Check this Use Docker checkbox, and if the Docker containers for your project are running, you will see them here. If you're anything like me, you'll need to be reminded a second time that only running containers show up here, so you don't wind up filing support tickets with Tinkerwell about Docker not working with Magento. Select the PHP container from the dropdown. For me, this is Magento PHP FPM. Then click Auto Detect to have Tinkerwell detect the working directory for this project within the Docker container. Wait, another working directory? We set up the working directory previously, but that was the local working directory, and this is the remote working directory. Even though Docker is a local development environment, it's treated as sort of a remote environment since the containers remain isolated from other services running locally on your computer. Just a little tidbit to keep in mind. var www html is in fact the location of the Magento install within the Docker container, and this is the directory that is sort of mapped to the local project directory at sites Magento source. It's important that both of these locations map back to a matching root directory of the Magento source code. If they don't, things just won't work. Finally, click Close, and we are ready to go. The indexing process that started previously will index the hundreds of thousands of files in Magento. When it has completed, you'll see a Done Indexing message in the bottom right of the Tinkerwell app. If you don't see this message or see something else here, you'll want to make sure that the working directories are properly set and debug this further if something just doesn't look right. Object Manager is accessible in Tinkerwell with the OM variable. If you just type that $OM and then click Execute, we will see that it returns an instance of the Object Manager class. If we scroll down, we can see that we have access to the many different properties that are set on this Object Manager object. Let's do something a bit more practical and load up an instance of a product. The proper way to do this in Magento is with a repository. If you like this video so far, remember to hit that like button to show support for this channel. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and create a variable for this repository named product repository, and then set it equal to a call to om create. Now just start typing the name of the product repository interface, and whoa, this is so cool. It uses IntelliSense to auto-suggest classes and interfaces that match what I'm typing, just like PHP Storm does. And when I select one and hit enter, it automatically imports that file. This is just something other REPLs don't do or can't do, and it'll save you a ton of time typing these out, especially with these deeply nested long class names in Magento. Now that we have an instance of the product repository, let's create a new product variable and assign it to a call to the product repository's get method. And we'll just pass in a string of the SKU of the product we want returned. My favorite product in Magento is the Joust duffel bag. Maybe because it's product number 1, maybe it's because I know the SKU by heart, or maybe it's just because I liked saying joust. Joust. In any case, this is my favorite demo product, and now you know. I'm going to go ahead and type out 24-MB01 as the Joust duffel bag SKU. And rather than clicking the execute button, this time I'll type the keyboard shortcut Command R. And we are now seeing the full output of the product object for the Joust duffel bag. When would you want to use Tinkerwell? Well, just about whenever you want. I now use this all the time to debug snippets of Magento code. Rather than creating a class or a CLI controller, I just fire up Tinkerwell and type it in. This allows me to easily run small segments of code without having to worry about setting up any boilerplate code. Since I also teach Magento development, having access to a place where I can just write up some quick Magento code is completely invaluable as a trainer and to my students. Are you using Tinkerwell in some other cool way? If so, definitely let me know in the comments below. I hope you like this video, and as always, keep coding.